Welcome to the We Mag Show. As everyone knows, March is Women's History Month, and Women's Essence magazine loves to invite women on our platform to share their stories, especially their challenges. So we are happy to welcome Kimberlyn Lacy, who is the founder and CEO of International Flair Designs. And also, we could also add that she is a writer as well. She has children books in the works. So I can't wait to hear more about that. But right now, hi, Kimberlyn. How are you?
Hi, Claire. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to take a few moments to tell us about yourself, about your accomplishments, some of your challenges that made you who you are today, and answer some of my questions I'll be asking you soon, okay?
Okay.
All
I-
right. So you're ready, Kimberlyn?
I'm ready.
You look ready. And by the way,
Oh,
I love that painting behind you. Nice.
thank you so much. I always tell people one of the hardest things for me is to talk about myself. Like
Why?
I
You
just
have so much to share because I have to tell the viewers that in 2015, you were so kindly to have me ask you some questions on my blog when I first started out. So thank you so much for that. And I enjoyed what your story was about, you know? So I know you went through a lot of challenges in your young teenage years, being a teenage mother, and what happened with you in the fire of your home, having to rebuild. So let's begin and tell the viewers who haven't read my article about you about some of the challenges you went through as a teenager and about the fire.
so I think I want to start. Probably should start with the fire.
Mm-hmm.
When I was 5 years old, my childhood home burned to the ground. And I had a 3-year-old brother who was also burned in the fire. He was burned on over 90% of his body, but he survived. He survived. And during that time, my dad, he actually went back and got his contractor's license. And so I always told everybody that was literally the start of my career. Um, when I was 5 years old, and just following my dad around and being his shadow and just seeing what he did and how he maneuvered through, obtaining his licenses and starting his own business. Um, that was it. He was like the jack of all trades, and somehow I've picked those skills up as well.
Oh, wow, that's wonderful. And I know in the story that you shared with us in the blog that, having the fire happening to your family, it taught you about community, how they were there to support you. And that's some of the reasons why you also got into design, wanting to help people, rebuild their lives, rebuild their home, because your home is part of who you are, your life. And that showed you how people was by your family side helping you get through this traumatic experience, especially with your little brother. So tell us more about that, how the support you received helped you to want to give back in that way.
So we wouldn't have made it unless we had like such a tight knit community rallying around us. And so it was just something that I remember spending the night at the Ronald McDonald House because our house burned. We didn't have anywhere to go. And so my brother, he needed care. And so for that, I have a forever relationship with um, the Ronald McDonald House. And so on a local level, but also on a national level, and some of the other partnerships that I've fostered throughout the years with Habitat for Humanity, we're all like a big family, and it's to improve the quality of life through construction for
Mhm.
those who are less fortunate or who may be experiencing difficulties in their life at the time.
To be 5 years old, I'm sure you probably weren't aware of that was your first major challenge that you had to overcome with your family. And the next challenge was as a teenager, right?
Right. So Claire, I remember it was actually my high school sweetheart. He who later became my husband. But I parented a child when I was a teenager. And you got to realize how how detrimental that was. I guess I felt, because I was like an all-American girl in high school, or the mold that not only my parents had set, but the mold that my high school counselors had set. And, I went against the grain, and here I am. It didn't happen intentionally, but I became a mother at such a young age. And so going through that experience for me, I thought my life had ended. No one's gonna like me. No one's gonna do this. No, and so I can remember, as that 16-year-old, I overcompensated, and so I used the pain from that, or the stereotype of you're never gonna make it, or you'll never be anything anymore, because you've allowed this to ruin your life, and I allowed it to be the fuel to what I've become today. And so I don't really, I think we had a conversation prior. I've never gone through life as like life is a challenge. I've more or less gone through life is a journey. And so there are things and experiences that are happening to me along this journey, but it's allowing me to become a better person.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, but it's allowing me to walk into my purpose, and purpose changes. It's not the So that same purpose that I had back in 2015, of who I am and who I wanted to become, and how I identified myself, and how I identified even success, or how I related or success to be, it's not the same.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just an evolution of who I am, so I can help the next person who may be 16, who thinks life is over, she can't finish college, she can't finish school, she can't finish this. And we'll talk about inspirational women, I think maybe later, but my mom, she was a tough cookie. She was hard. But now I even understand why she had to be so hard on me, because it was the gift. She was refining the gift that God had literally instilled in me. So she had to be that way. And
Mm-hmm.
she parented the way that she needed to parent me.
No, of course, of course. Now the thing is this, with us, Women's Essence Magazine, we want women to hear other women's story. Like you said, it was your journey, it was an experience that helped you to someday help another woman who may be going through the same thing. Like you said, as a teenager, you thought your life was over, and it wasn't. You accomplished so much more afterwards. And that's what women need to know. No matter what you're going through, you make it through. It's just a journey. I like that. It is a journey. It's not a challenge. It's a journey.
Right?
And you keep taking that road to the next journey, that next experience, to help you become the better person that you are today. So now, fast forward, you started international fair design. Tell me, how did that transpire to you? Like, how did that all start?
So I don't know. So I should share this story. I don't know. So it was between becoming a pediatrician and
Pediatrician.
becoming a superintendent of schools. And so those were my two goals. It's like I could either become a superintendent, or I could either become a pediatrician. And so those were the two things that I wanted to accomplish in life. But it didn't start there. And so I had a naysayer to say, you'll never make any money being an interior designer. You'll never make any money being a contractor. And so you need to choose another career. You need to choose a safe career. And so I chose a safe career. And so those were my two safe careers. But I always wanted to become an interior designer and a contractor. Those were the two things that I wanted to do. I wanted to be a builder. And so
Mm-hmm.
I really didn't see myself. And so I came from a long history, or a long family linkage of educators. And so my grandfather, he was one of the pioneers in segregating the schools in the South. And so that is what you did. You either became an educator, you became a principal or a teacher or a superintendent, but you just didn't go against that grain. And so I remember I obtained my master's and I finished grad school in education. And for whatever reason, there was no fulfillment. And if you go back and if you ask all my teacher friends, they can remember me bringing materials in my classroom like headboards. I would make fabric covered headboards,
Mm-hmm.
or my contractors at the time, tradesmen coming in and meeting me on like, well, what do you suggest we do for this project, or what do you suggest for that project? So I was always like leaning and longing to it, even though I was in the classroom and I was helping children, or even with an advanced degree and I was out of the classroom. I was an ed specialist. I was out of the classroom, but for whatever reason, I had these high school kids, high school dropouts. They were doing math with me. They were learning what a board and batten wall was and what
Mm-hmm.
a ceiling was. And so it just never, it was something that was instilled in me, that was inside of me. I think it's a gift that God placed inside of me, and it never would go away, no matter how hard I try to, press it down. And so, to answer your question, that was the start. I walked away from it. I asked for a sign, and I had a sign that was so loud and clear. And I remember um, not fully 100% having the courage to really walk away. And so my comfort job, my position, making a substantial amount of money, it was taken away. My position was eliminated. And I just knew then what I was going to do. That's when I went back to college as a postbac, and I
Mm-hmm.
obtained interior design degree in architect and interior design. So I had a
Mm-hmm.
push. I had a little push. My position was eliminated, and I it was without question. I knew what was next, and so
Mm-hmm.
I went to college, and I started my own business while International Flair Designs was actually birthed while I was in college,
Oh,
and
wow.
yeah, and I didn't know. A lot of times we think, and I'm not against college, but a lot of times we think we have to have, you know, a college, which I did have a college education, but I can never forget my college instructor. She was telling me, she said, you're already doing elevations. And she said, how'd you learn how to do an elevation? And I was like, I don't know. It's just inside me. And she said, well, you're already doing this. How did you learn how to do? And I was like, I don't know. It's just so it was always there, but it
Mm-hmm.
was just an experience of, okay, we're just going to eliminate your position. Today I walked in and my position was eliminated. And had that position not been eliminated, I would have never had that experience where I went on that journey of going back to school for architect and interior design.
Now, who are your support system or people who are supporting you through this journey of yours, going to take a post-bac degree in interior designing and starting your own business? Were you married when that's all was taking place? Had
So yeah,
children?
so I was married and I did have kids, and I've always pushed education. And so when my kids were not old enough to stay home, or it was like teamwork between my husband and I, as far as like taking care of children. But when one of us couldn't be there for the other, my kids went to class with me. And so I never made excuses. There was never a thing of I can't or I don't know how I'm going to do this. And still to
Mm-hmm.
this day, I never make an excuse for myself. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't allow my kids to make an excuse for themselves either. And
Mm-hmm.
so um, I'm I'm a pretty hard parent, and that's because I never made excuses for myself.
No,
And
I
that
could definitely, we could
yeah,
definitely see that from what you told us about yourself. You don't take any excuses for yourself. So why should you for your own children? Because you want to see them do just as good as you have done and still are doing, you know? So I understand that you've appeared on Fox 16, Good Days Modern Living, the segment, right? And
right.
also NBC and CBS. So tell me, how was that for you, that experience to have your business, your company, International Flair Designs, get showcased in such a big platform?
So Claire, I have to be totally honest with you. Um, I am such a behind the scenes person or a behind the scenes girl. Um, and it's there's a weight of moving me forward. I would say they were great as far as marketing for my business, of course, but I am more of let's get your hands dirty, um, behind the scenes, helping other people. Like I
Mm-hmm.
so which there's a shifting that's happening, but I have a lot of people that I do mentor, and so
Mm-hmm.
I will catapult someone that I'm mentoring forward before I put myself forward.
Mm, that's
And
nice.
so as far as being the face of my brand and being that person that has to talk. Even with you, I'm still the shy little girl that wants to just go sit in the corner and sketch and, just produce an amazing project. But I know that I can't stay there. So I will say
Mm-hmm.
experiences have been great. They've brought a lot of not only awareness to the brand, a lot of awareness to who I am as a person and what the brand stands for and just what I believe in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so
So can you name a few projects that you have completed that touched your heart, that meant so much to you to take on and complete?
I can't just say one project because my clients become family. Uh,
Oh, okay.
I I will and I almost became a psychiatrist too. So I would say in being an interior designer and a general contractor, it's oftentimes you are not only what you've been called to do, but you're also a psychiatrist in the midst of it because you're changing
Mm-hmm.
a person's life, whether this client is a hoarder and needs to get rid of so many things and they have a
Mm-hmm.
house full of things and they can't get to the root of it, and then you change their life, but it wasn't a high-end project, but you changed the trajectory of how they live, how they move about their home, or whether or not it's a client that you've worked with. A lot of people say a disability, but I call it an ability. You may have
Mm-hmm.
one of my favorite projects was a child who was autistic and just bringing in things that he could touch, feel, and he was blind in one eye. But I can't just nail down one project because they're all life changing. And I have
Mm-hmm.
project as if how can I serve my client? Not just I want to create this amazing project for my portfolio, but how can I serve you? How can I
Mm-hmm.
how can I help you live a better life? And so
And
that's my approach with any and every project.
like I mentioned earlier, that's what interior design is all about. You're going to somebody's home and making it theirs, their personality, fit their personality, and to appreciate and to know who they really are. And at the same time, you help them to see how they could live better, because they always say once your home is organized and the way you want it, you feel so much better. You feel like, oh my God, I feel so good. I'm a new person. And as you know, March is spring, right? Spring is coming around. So people do their spring cleaning, spring rebuilding, changing their home around. So that must be a busy time for you as well, right? During that time.
So one thing I will let you know, so I am this super organized person, but I do zero organization for clients. And so I just kind of like to, I have an amazing partnership with another member of the trade, and that's her scope of work. She's an organ,
Mm-hmm.
and I would rather call her and introduce her to my clients than me organizing something for them. So
Mm-hmm.
I drive myself insane keeping myself organized. So I
Well, I did see one of your work, was a bathroom that you completed. I think was about a year or 2 years ago. And I know you posted it on your Facebook page, and I thought it was a great job. And, you could see that there was no clutter in the bathroom, was nice and fresh and pristine. And I'm like, wow, that's interior designing. You take it from one disorganized, cluttery mess into something very clean, easy, simple, but so like it's very chic. And I love that bathroom you did. I don't know if you remember it. You
Thank you.
you did the shower and everything. I was like, wow. I
So
think that
I
was
guess
incredible.
there still is a level of organization, but as far as like organizing things and color coding things from A to Z, my closet's all organized, my pantry's organized, but I stay away from that.
Yeah, other people's organization, yeah, organizing their home. But
Mhm.
you fix it, make it look lovely, just the way they want it. They have an
Right.
image in their mind, and you make it happen for them and everything. So I know you mentioned in the past that you were trying to start writing children's book. Tell us about that.
So so I guess the idea came about 7 years ago, and of course we busy ourselves with other things. And so during the pandemic is when I had the pandemic. A lot of times, a lot of people say it was like an awful time for them, but it's the journey that I'm on. So
Hmm.
complain. I never complain about things, and so during the pandemic was an amazing time. I was able to start back journaling, and I had more time for meditation, and I wrote a series of children's books. I fine tuned them, and so we are like one sneeze away from publishing the first book, and so it will be out in publication spring 2023. So,
Oh, nice. Looking forward to seeing that.
and it's about, I can't share all of the story, but
Hmm.
about this girl, and she didn't see anyone doing anything that she wanted to do in life. And so it's just to bring awareness to something that's trait specific. Um, and so that this little girl, she can see herself. And so I'm all about, one thing I will tell you, I'm all about giving homage or paying tributes to those who've gone before me. And I will let you know the little girl's name is Fawn, spelled Fahn, which is my mother's maiden name.
Mm.
And that's about the story. And I and I wanted to name one of my daughters Fawn, but my husband said no. So Fawn is in the book. So, and that's about all I can say about Fawn.
Okay, I respect that, but we have to wait until the book comes out in the spring, like you said, so mothers could read that as a storybook bedtime story for their daughter or son. So basically, yeah, that'll be something cute to look forward to, you know?
So, Claire, all the goal was for mothers to be able to enjoy it, but also for older people to enjoy it as well.
Okay,
And
okay,
so, one,
good. Good, good,
so
good, good. I love reading some books. So tell me, I know you're going through a journey and all your past journeys. So what would you say? Can you just like summarize the type of lesson that your journey has taught you?
hmm. um, whew. So I would say this year, well, leading until last year, I have learned, I'm such a giver and such a giving person. And I think it goes back to how I was raised, not only that, but what I saw when I was growing up. And then that community rallying around my family, during our time of need. And so I would just have octopus hands, just giving and giving and giving. And so this period in my life, I've actually rediscovered who I am. And so I've gone on this healing, this amazing healing journey of healing from things that you didn't even know you needed to be healed. And
Mhm.
one of those things along that journey that I've done, I've cut out everything processed. So I don't eat any processed foods. I don't eat meat. I don't eat dairy. And I will say, just having that, there's so much mental clarity. I'm clear. My skin is clear, and so just the way I think and those processes have changed. I will say that. Um, and then what else did you ask me, Claire?
The journey that you have taken in the past and present, what had that taught you? And you're saying is teaching you clarity and eating healthier, right?
Yeah. And so I would be considered as what they call as alkaline, 100% alkaline. And I literally like shedded, I think it was like close to 100 pounds since doing that. And so that's something that I stood back and I was like, wow, you really did that. Um, and another thing, not taking on every single project. The old me, I guess the person that you interviewed back in 2015, she took on every single project without ever saying no. And so I'm learning um, there are to set those healthy boundaries, if that makes sense, of
Mhm.
what project to take on, what's a good fit for not on for the brand, what's a good fit
Mhm.
for employees to begin to work on. And so that's been my journey, just rediscovering
Mhm.
who I am as a person, rebranding not only myself but the business. And it all happened, Claire, organically. It was not anything that was forced. It was just um, something was discovered, and then the journey began. If that makes sense.
Mhm. 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 So, if you would ever meet with your younger self, what would you say to her? How would you guide your younger self?
The only thing I would tell that younger me is, girl, take more trips and slow down,
Mm.
because I was always like just such this go getter, and I've got to get it done by this time and I've got to have this deadline. I would tell her, go on vacation and slow down, because
Mhm.
I'm, I would say, probably within the last 2 to 3 years, I'm just experiencing what slowing down means.
Mm. Okay. And
It,
what
yeah.
advice what advice would you give to a woman or a younger woman about becoming an entrepreneur, starting your own business while raising a family at the same time? What advice would you tell them or give to them and how to
So
navigate this their journey?
find a mentor, but don't expect
Mm,
someone to mentor you for free. Always ask yourself, um, and that's with any relationship, or just if you're shopping for or car or whatever. Always ask the question, how can I serve you? That's my saying. And so it's not about how can the other person serve you or what can you gain from the other person, but how can you serve them? So whatever gift or whatever is a quality that you possess that's a great quality, how can you use that quality in order to serve that person instead of them
mm,
giving you every single thing that they have learned?
mm, mm.
And so
So
I
that's
would
good.
tell
That's good advice. That's really good advice. Because one thing we do know, whenever we're going to start a project or do something new, we need some good advice from people. And the best person will be a mentor. You become a mentee. But yeah, you're so saying a mentee should always come with the mind frame or the mindset is how do I serve you? Correct?
how can I serve you? How can I make your life
Mm,
easier? I'm not
mm,
here to get book and make life easier. I always tell my good friends, you can I can give you my playbook and you can copy every single thing that I've done in my career. but you may not get this, you're not going to get the same outcome. Why? Because literally, and not to make this like a spiritual thing, I got
Mm-hmm.
5 a long time ago. It's that quiet, still voice that you may hear when you're on your walk or when you're
Mm-hmm.
in the shower that's telling you, move this way or do this. That's
Mm-hmm.
my, that's how I got there. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that I don't set goals or anything like that. It's not that I'm strategic or any of that, but it's that quiet, that quietness, that still voice that whispers to you,
Mm-hmm.
call Claire while you're in New York and check on Claire, or it's the ordering of your steps. And that's gotten me farther than any college education. I won't say it's gotten me farther than any mentorship, because the person that mentors me now, it was the courage. I had the courage because they're not, I had in my head, I'm thinking, or you know how that mind gets to doing things like, they're not going to mentor you. Why are you going to?
Mm-hmm.
And I never forget, I approached that person. I said, how can I serve you? I'm supposed to,
Mm-hmm.
I was supposed to call you 3 years ago, but I never called you. I was afraid. And not only did that person become a mentor, they're like family and a friend. And so,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, those things that I need, or just to project me forward as in my personal life as well. They're a friend that I, and a person that I can trust.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now I know you mentioned, you don't you don't define your experiences, the bad ones, as a challenge. It's just a journey, right?
This
So
is
I just want to ask you this question. Please tell the viewers about a time when you face a difficult situation and who or what helped you get through that difficult situation that you were in.
so. I think when you're, I think for one, Claire, I think it was. I can go back to your other question that you asked. How have I changed? That mind, that thing behind our two ears, it's such a powerful thing. And I believe the mindset had to change and shift first. I will have to say um, that. But you said, you asked the question. I don't, my perspective in life is not typical. Or say, for instance, I had a flat tire. It was 3 hours before roadside assistance could get to me. I didn't have a laptop. I didn't have a computer. I didn't have anything. All I had was a phone and a radio at this point. Guess what I did? I just meditated. It was, so I could have complained about, I've just been sitting here on the side of the road for 3 hours. Cars were passing me by. I was at a
Mhm.
the intersection, but it was time. It was like literally time where I soul searched in that quiet, still voice. I probably wrote probably a whole 5 year plan then. It was just listening to those instructions. So that's one example. So what others consider or complain about, I'm not a complainer. I'm not a whiner. I think I'll take lemons and make lemonade. And that's just how I just operate and
So
maneuver.
any difficult situation that you had, you just sort of positive of it,
Right.
basically. That's
So,
good.
so
I think yeah, that's the best way to look at things because it helps you and it helps you become less stressful when you put it that way, you know?
it is. And I can't say that some things don't bother me, but I'm more of an internalizer. I do internalize things, but I also have this thing of problem solving. And so I'll
Mhm.
things out. But there have been some challenges in my life, most recently, where I knew there was nothing that I could do. So my hands were tied. And so I could depend on God, right? But I couldn't fix those. I had to move out of the way, right?
Mhm.
So even those things grew me even more so spiritually.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
As women, we have to count on helping each other out so much because that's all we have just as women. Only we understand the things we have to go through every day in life. And I sometimes think about the women from many years ago, what they had to overcome in their own journey. And that's why you know, I'm happy that we do have 1 month to celebrate women. Okay, Women's History Month. Again, it's in March, right? So basically, what women in history would you say is most inspirational to you?
And so I have to give homage to my mom. She
Of
created a
course.
Yeah, she created a diamond. And so the next person that I have to give homage to would be Kimberly Ward. And Kimberly Ward, she was the founder of a national organization, um, and um, she handpicked me for something, and it was her pouring into me because I never thought of myself in that way, right? And so
Hmm.
she was the first person that I know, not to tell me that I was like this, I was different or I was this special person, but she poured so much into me that as far as where I've gone career wise, I still
Hmm.
hold on. She's now deceased. She passed away from cancer about 6 years ago, but it was the word or a word that she gave me that a lot of times I still stand on because she showed me the first one to show me what I could become as
Hmm.
far as wise. And so I do have to pay like homage to Kim because her role in my life on this journey was very pivotal into who I am as a person career wise
Hmm.
and the people that I mentor because she also she mentored me and my last person, and there are many other women, um, would be my grandmother. And so my I have two grandmothers. So my grandmother Mary, she was like the cool grandmother that yeah you just experience life with. If
Hmm.
that makes sense. You didn't have to go to the streets to experience life because she was just gonna let you do it at her house.
Hmm.
Taste a little bit at her house so you you're not going to stray away. And so she was the one that was closest in vicinity to me because she lived in the area that we lived in. But my dad's mother, my grandmother Bobby, I had a chance, and so we would always go see her, but I stayed with her for a while. And so I had an opportunity to handle some of her like affairs, whether they were personal, financial, business wise. And I saw she lives in LA, and I just saw what she had overcame. I saw um, what she overcame as a woman, not only as a woman, but what she overcame as an African American woman. And during her day when we didn't own real estate. She purchased three homes. Um, or just to see her never finishing college, but she was an investor and she invested in the stock market and into real estate and into annuities and just how she handled her affairs. And so I didn't grow up around her, but it showed me like I was literally standing on her shoulders, if that makes
Mm.
sense, of what all she had accomplished in life. And it was because of the work that she had done that I was able to, it was like, no, you weren't really smart. She was doing this and she didn't even have a high school education. And so
Mhm.
it was just an eye opener to me of what she experienced back in the 30s. And she's still, her tenacity or her drive to not only live but to overcome and to accomplish things. And so
Mhm.
just hearing her stories of overcoming. And she's 88 and she's still driving. Um,
Good.
and she is an amazing, although we are so much alike, and I never knew where a lot of me came from. She's more
Mhm.
she's stubborn. I'm not stubborn, but we are a lot of like, and so just being able to experience that firsthand. And yeah. And then I have a small tribe, Claire. I know you probably think that I have associates around the world, but I have like two really close friends. One of them, she's a business owner, Tamaya Walker. She owns Sisters and Suitcases, and she is such an accountability partner. And yeah, so it's just not about friendship, but it's about having someone to hold you accountable, and letting you know when, okay, that's not right, or
Mhm.
okay, you should.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't think that's the right move, whether it's a business move or a personal move, or just as a parent. So yeah. And then he places people like you in my life, Claire, that are just so inspiring,
Oh, thank you.
so inspiring. And
Mhm.
yeah, and you don't know, I don't think you even know what you do for our community.
Mhm. Well, you've done a lot for you, your family, people with your designs, now the book. And the fact that I remember, you at a point had your own show where you're interviewing people, inviting people on your show. And I supported that. And I learned a lot too. And you're doing great things for many people out there, and especially women.
Oh, thanks, Claire.
Now, I want to know, Kimberlyn, tell me, how do you celebrate yourself as a woman?
So, Claire, I had to learn to celebrate me because I celebrate other people, but it's just so hard to stop and just celebrate me. And so,
Hmm.
um, my way of celebrating me is to actually read a good book and travel. Those are the two things that I love to do. And one thing that people don't know about me is I am adventurous. I love a good adventure. I love to skydive, and I love to zip
You
line.
skydive?
I skydive. Yeah. Oh, I know, no one would have ever guessed. And so I love adventure. I love doing new things. I love trying new things. Um,
That is wonderful. So you know how to celebrate yourself. Good for you.
and so I love rafting, and I love being close to nature and climbing mountains. And yeah, those are things that
That
I
is awesome.
yeah, those are things that I love to do. So if you
To
know any
celebrate you celebrate the things you want to do, and you're enjoying it. You're enjoying life that way. And that's how we should celebrate ourselves.
right.
And it's amazing that you found a time to do all this with you being involved with so many things. That is awesome.
And so I will tell you, I do spend a lot of time with. I think the last time we interviewed, my kids were all in school, and I was just trying to juggle their schedule
Mm-hmm.
and run a business. It's like now I've set the tone for them, and so they know the expectations. But it's
Mm-hmm.
girls, my daughters, they've become like my best friends. And
Oh,
so
that's nice.
a lot of times people say, "Oh, daughter can't be your best friend." Oh, yes, they can. And
Mm-hmm.
so they they
Mm-hmm.
pointed that out about me. Like, Mom, we realized you love adventure. You love, and it was something that, and I love. And Claire, listen, I'm not a competitive person because
Mm-hmm.
I'm helping lift other women up. But when it comes to like running races and zip lining and
Mm-hmm.
cycling. I am very competitive.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a energy I feel like gets out, and I never knew I
Mm-hmm.
had it. But yeah, we compete. We like to compete against each other. Just my
Yeah.
girl. It's not
Healthy competition, though, right? Healthy competition.
competition. Right, right. And
Okay.
those are some of the things that that I do to celebrate me. I will tell you, I know
Okay.
the next question, but I will let you know. I was having a conversation with my girls, my daughters, a couple of months ago, and so it set me to tears. But one of my daughters, she was at a pivotal moment in her career, and she couldn't
Mm-hmm.
decide what she wanted to become. And it's like it's not. You just gotta listen. It's not that hard. But she made the comment, and one of her friends said this person was their the person that inspired. And so my daughter made the statement that my mom is the person that inspires me. I don't have to look
Mm-hmm.
to inspire me. And she said, I have hard shoes for them to fill. And so that was like one of the most tear jerking moments, in my life because I always tell people it's one thing for you to evolve as a person, but when you see um, the children that you've given life to begin to evolve and grasp life, that's just something it's just it's different. So
Well, she's learning from you and she's watching you. All your children have been observing and watching you from the time they were able to talk. So it's good that always live by showing good example of being a woman. So now, Kimberlyn, I always ask all my guests right before the show ends to share one of your favorite quotes. It could be original of your own or something that you read that could motivate my viewers who are watching. So look at the camera and just say one of your favorite quotes, one that you either created yourself or one that you read in the past that not only help motivate you, that will help motivate somebody else who's watching and who's listening to you right now.
okay, so Claire, I don't have a favorite quote, but I do have a favorite scripture. One of my favorites.
Oh, yes.
The promises of God are yes and amen, and that's one of my favorite ones because there may be a door that closes or you may think life is over. It may not happen the way you intended it to happen or you envisioned it happening, but God has a million and one ways to fulfill his promise for you and in your life, and so his promises are always yes and amen. So
Oh,
that's
very
that's been
nice.
something that I live by.
And then you know this because, like you said, when you were working, they limited your position at the school. That was a no to them, but a yes to God and an amen when He put you in a position to go to take your post-bac program for interior designing. And look at you now.
That's true. And so
So,
I
yeah, you
never
could
worry.
say
uh,
what
yeah,
happened.
I said I never really worry because I always know that God has a million and one ways to like bring you there or bring you
Yes.
where you need to.
Right. I
Yeah.
remember you shared something with me when you told me about what your father had told you as a young girl. Do you
Oh, my
remember?
father tells. I don't know.
He's
I don't know. My dad tells me a lot
he told
of
you that
things.
not to worry, you'll be fine. So no matter what, you're gonna live always, no matter what happens to you, you're gonna survive, you're always gonna live a long life. It's not
Yeah.
your yes.
Yeah. Long life you will satisfy them. So my dad, I would say both my parents did, but my dad always taught me to have this like super crazy level of faith about things.
Yes.
And I remember him telling me, baby girl, you got to have the kind of faith that if the plane crashes, you'll be
Yes.
the only one on the plane to
Plane.
survive.
Right. Yep.
So
But you
I've gone,
tell
yeah, life literally with that in mind. Like it's not that I'm this like superwoman or the superhero. Like, I'm not even worried about that because my dad said that if and so I have this crazy level of faith, um, just from his affirmations, that we would say in the morning, or um, just some of those things that he instilled in
Mm-hmm.
me as a father. And so that's where you see a lot of the confidence like comes from, is from God, but it's my parents
Yeah.
instilling that out of me at a very early age. And so life
And that's
happens, but
why you go skydiving.
because if it, I'll be the only one to survive, huh? Yeah.
You go skydiving. That is very brave of you to do. Just do that. When was the last time you went skydiving? When's the last time you did that?
So it was pre-pandemic, so right before we went into, so it's been what, 3 years now?
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it's been,
Okay.
I did have a chance to do some zip lining and free falling on my birthday. So my girls took me on an adventure for my birthday, which was
Okay.
amazing. And
Yeah,
so
sounds,
we
yeah,
did
that's
some,
good.
yeah.
A
So
well-deserved, amazing trip. That's good when you get to do things. Well, Kimberlyn, thank you so much for being on our show today, our platform. As I mentioned earlier, we love inviting women like yourself who have a great story to share, which is about your journey, which you did, your journey, and how your journey helped you to become the woman you are today. And I liked how you mentioned and said how you never see challenges as a bad thing where you'll complain about it. You see the positive side of it to help you be more constructive instead of destructive. And that's a great thing. Like you mentioned, you were waiting 3 hours for the road people to come in and fix your tires. Instead of complaining, you meditated, and that helped you. And I think that's a wonderful thing that anyone could just take away from this show is the things that you have gone through and overcame your journey. You're still a very giving, grateful, conscious person who continues to want to uplift other women, mentor other women, and just continues what you're doing as well with your platform. I think you're doing a great job as well.
thank you,
And being an
Claire.
awesome mother. You're being an awesome mother too.
Thank you so much.
No,
So
that's the truth.
I have to come back. Book comes out and talk
Oh
about that.
yes, 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 definitely. Um, I can't wait. I want to get the picture of your book so I could place it on my Facebook page too, everywhere, so they could know that's your book and everything. So again, thank you so much for being on the show. I learned so much from you just in this 54 minutes, you know. So it's great. It's really great. Great conversation. And
Thank you.
must be continued at another time too. To be
Thank
continued.
you.